Hello and welcome to Box, where we unbox, review and demonstrate the latest tech. Today we have with us the 2022 LG C2 in 42 inches. Released as a part of the 2022 range from LG, the C2 takes everything you loved about the C1 and makes some notable improvements to make LG's best OLED even better. Taking on a few elements from some of their other models last year as well as some new features, you might just find that it's not only looks that are different this time round. Taking a look at the box, you'll instantly see a change. LG this year have ditched the colourful display on the exterior and gone for more of an eco approach, reducing packing materials and ink use to further reduce their impact on the environment. Though this doesn't just apply to the box, as the TV itself is also made with less damaging plastics, swapping for the lighter, more friendlier composite materials. As usual, all the accessories you need are located either just under the top layer of packaging or alongside the TV, including the stand, a separate bag containing the magic remote, an IR blaster cable, a cover for the inputs and wires, a cable tidy with securing caps for the stand, and a variety of instruction guides to get you started. If you're familiar with the C1, then you'll notice a huge difference here in the look and feel of the design. For the 42-inch version, the stand has these two legs that just slot into the back of the TV and screw into place, whereas the larger sizes have a more familiar stand made up of two parts that screw into the back for support. Now the legs on this 42-inch model are much smaller and lighter than the C1 stand, and with it weighing an impressive 9 kilograms on the stand, it's much easier to fit and manoeuvre the TV during setup. Taking a look at the back, you already see the impact this new look makes. I much prefer this smoky black colouring and textured feel that the composite material makes compared to the smooth back on the C1. Looking through the various sizes this TV comes in, I was surprised to see the wide variety of looks in both the size of the stand and the processing box on the back. On this 42-inch model, the box does cover the entire back, which does create a slightly thicker side profile, though luckily we still get that beautifully thin display. As it's much smaller and cheaper than the bigger sizes, I understand why this stand doesn't look as luxurious. Overall though, I'm loving this new design, giving it an even more minimal look than before. On the back, there's a 300 by 200 VESA as well as being compatible with a slim mount, which will look fantastic for those going down the wall mount route. In terms of connections, you get 3 USBs, an audio out, 4 2.1 HDMIs, all supporting 4K at 120Hz, and one supporting eARC connection, a LAN port for direct internet connection, an optical digital audio out, satellite and cable inputs, and an IR blaster port. As always, I love to see a TV with full 2.1 high-speed HDMI support. It's great knowing that I can connect multiple next-gen consoles without having to switch out cables for the best quality. Once the TV is set up on the display unit, the whole look definitely has a much better minimal look than the C1. The thinner stand legs leave a lot more breathing room for a soundbar and other accessories. The thickness on the display is nice and sturdy thanks to the weight displacement of the processing box on the back, supporting that delicately thin display even better. I even prefer this slightly boxier edging all the way around as opposed to the smooth rounded edge on the C1, again reassuring me that the display will be better protected from accidental knocks. The side profile is incredibly thin, assuming it would look great wall mounted, but mainly looking tidier all around. There's not much going for it in terms of cable management. Unlike the thicker stand on the larger sizes, these thinner legs don't offer much room for hiding cables within the stand. I was still able to group 2 or 3 cables together and guide them inside the leg, securing them in place with the caps provided. Going through the setup stage, there's not much here that's different from the 2021 models. You get to choose mount preference, connect to the internet, log into your LG account, and enable any additional features from the start. There are some new additions that jump out to me, like the Always Ready feature, enabling the TV to remain in a standby mode that displays art or a chosen wallpaper, making it easy to jump straight into use again without having to boot it up completely. But once in the home menu, you get a nice familiar WebOS layout, with some improvements on the navigating speeds. You'll find all of the available apps along the top, as well as the usual scrolling recommendation tiles further down. It still feels a little cluttered, but a little less so than before, leaving you with a new quick access menu in the top right to help you get back to your most used input faster. The processor is now an A9 Gen 5 as opposed to the Gen 4 in the C1, so there will be a nice improvement in the overall performance when switching between apps and loading menus. With a movie loaded up, I can instantly see that beautiful edge-to-edge picture with a very thin bezel. Full screen videos do look amazing with nothing obstructing the picture, really delving deep into that minimal, almost suspended look that doesn't distract from what you're watching. I was surprised to see that LG hasn't changed the Magic Remote with this new iteration. Sporting the same button layout and cursor interactions as before, it's at least familiar and quick to get straight to use. Though most aren't a fan of this feature, I do like the cursor interaction, as it's quicker to select apps and move through menus than repeatedly pressing buttons. However, as I found with last year's models, it can be a little frustrating when it pops up accidentally when I don't want it to. So getting into the specifications on the C2, it's a 4K OLED panel with a 3840 by 2160 resolution with pixel dimming and perfect colours and blacks. It comes with an AI processor, so there's a healthy collection of automatic intelligent features like AI Picture Pro, upscaling and Brightness Pro that enhance the picture specifically to best suit the content that you're watching. Something new for this model is what LG calls Dynamic Tone Mapping Pro. Now you do get full HDR, but with this feature it brings out detail even further to improve it even more than the HDR already provides. Of course, you also get compatibility with Dolby Vision IQ as well, so there's not really a lot stopping you from enjoying the spectacular picture across most of the content that you consume. What's interesting here is the brightness. As I've mentioned in previous videos from the 2021 range of LG OLEDs, brightness is somewhat still an issue. Well, the C2 is now boasting having a 20% brighter picture than before, adding the final piece to the puzzle and showing what the C1 was missing. Though this TV comes in an impressive range of sizes from 42 inches to 83 inches, you won't be able to enjoy the effects of that additional brightness in the 42 and 48 inch models. As we have the 42 inch, we sadly can't test out how good that brightness could be. But all the same, the larger models are said to be able to put out an amazing 700 to 800 nits brightness, which is brilliant considering the 400 to 500 nits that I got out of the C1. If it's important to your space, for example if you have a small room or want to use it as a PC monitor, then the smaller size still does put out a decent picture quality, but it seems to me that it would be more beneficial here to go for the larger display sizes if you can. Within the picture settings, the pixel brightness can be adjusted to get the most out of the max output, only when disabling the energy saving settings. On top of this, I also had a play around with the peak brightness levels and did find that combined with the pixel brightness slider, I got some brilliant results from the medium to high selections. Of course, the higher the brightness, the more susceptible it is to that dreaded burn-in. But LG is again always on top of things, including the newer OLED care settings to help combat this issue. Of course, you can't avoid it if you leave your TV on the same image for long periods of time, but at least with LG, I know I can easily avoid the issue when having tools like these to hand. Getting into the settings and modes here, you seem to get all the great picture mode favourites like my preferred ISF bright and dark, as well as the classic filmmaker and cinema modes. The ISF modes are still my go-to favourites here, cleverly adapting to the light in the room to always bring me a sharp, clear picture. As great as it is to have cinema-specific modes, I still find them to bring too much warmth to the picture, creating an oddly unnatural palette, especially in some of my favourite movies. Playing a few movies old and new, I could still easily champion LG's ability to bring a TV with near perfect contrast and colour. It's no doubt that the colours here are consistently vibrant. I don't need to play just colourful animated features to show off how well the colours stand out. Although I don't have the C1 to compare it with directly, looking back at some of the footage I've filmed with the C1, I do see an improvement here on a few levels, especially in the deeper blacks and the vivid colour output. It does have a better processor, so I'm not surprised to see that it performs better here, but with the slight increase in price, I can see those improvements at work. Dark TV shows look stellar in both daylight and complete darkness, which is great, showing clear definition between the light and dark portions of a scene. In some instances, the contrast can be a little too much, making things seem a little darker than they should, but changing up the picture modes and putting aside their intended purpose, I found it easy to quickly toggle through them to find the picture style that fitted the content best. Now, older movies did look a little over sharp and a little noisy in places, distorting it ever so slightly, but in general I thought that everything looked relatively consistent thanks to the AI features working hard in the background. Doing a few quick tests to check for imperfections and uniformity overall, I honestly didn't get any glaring issues right out of the box. With the eco modes turned off to get a good idea on the base quality you get on startup, the picture did just as expected in the brightness and dimming tests, dimming the picture to keep the brightness consistent based on the light conditions to help avoid any deterioration over time, so I knew I was getting the most accurate picture for perfect viewing. For the sound, you get 20-watt downfiring speakers with a 2.2 channel. They are nicely placed for great sound output both on the stand and wall mounted, which is great to see. And you also get Dolby Atmos compatibility alongside a whole host of AI enhancing features. It seems to have taken more of a similar vibe as the G1, making the best of a sound system more accustomed to wall mounting with the lower downfiring speakers. But even though the speakers aren't as powerful as those on the C1, I still thought the levels were pretty loud even on half volume, and the quality was just as good. Now I know it's hard to take my word for it, so here's a quick sound sample recorded from the speakers to give you an idea on the quality on offer here.
Evo! Secret! Oh, look at you, blood so drinking. Have you been working without me?
Ah, and you, soldier Vikinger. I smell the stink of a dozen kingdoms in your beard.
The C1 was quite the favourite when it came to gaming, utilising some of the best support available and housing a really user-friendly game optimizer mode. All of these perks have been carried on seamlessly to the C2, holding the same look and feel with the game bar as well as having some additional features too. It's completely designed to work best with the latest consoles, including 4K 120Hz gameplay, as well as Dolby Vision support and OLED motion to make the experience as smooth as possible as well as looking stunning in the process. There's two menus to view your game settings, the pop-up game bar on the bottom of the screen and the full menu on the left-hand side, both of which are viewable without leaving the game screen. While the pop-up menu is great for showing quick stats like which features you have active, including VRR and refresh rate, alongside quick access with more in-depth menus, the main game settings menu shows all the information you need in an easy-to-navigate window. I love the little toggle switches that make turning features on and off a breeze, and even better, it shows you all the features on offer for enhancing both game and picture. A new addition to the game bar here is the multi-view. I had the main input running from HDMI, and though I couldn't demonstrate the screen share feature on the second window, it did give me some idea on how I could utilise it, letting me potentially show more than one input alongside the HDMI with screen share, a separate camera feed, or my regular TV feed. Trying out both the Xbox Series X and the PS5, the quality and performance was just as I expected. Gameplay was smooth and responsive, performing to the specifications of the console perfectly. Of course, some games work better than others depending on if they were compatible with the enhancements in place, and I thought the colour and brightness just came out much stronger in dark conditions as opposed to daylight. But overall, with VRR, G-Sync and input lag prevention enabled, I surely didn't see any visual disruptions, helping me keep my head in the game easier than with any competing display. So after using this TV over a few days in varying conditions, I can happily say that it would be worth making the upgrade. The C2 has all the delights of the previous C1, but with the much needed improvements that make this iteration almost perfect. I love the adaptability between the content, keeping the picture nicely consistent with little alteration from me. The shining star of the display is of course the sharp contrast and vibrant colours, making anything you watch visually stunning. Even in a smaller size, it's easy to see the effects of the display at work, though I do believe that in getting the larger size, you would gain so much more in terms of brightness, letting that stunning display perform to its full potential. So if you're looking for the next best thing in OLED tech, and you really just want a little bit more of what came out in the 2021 C range, then this TV was definitely worth the wait. So what are your thoughts on the 2022 LG C2? Let us know in the comments below, and if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Box, where we have plenty of hands-on reviews on the latest tech. And as always, thanks for watching.